Hey, quick intro, I promise. The channel is This Week in Pinstripes. You're going to get Yankees analysis all week long, big podcast at the end of the week, 3 stats from the previous week that tell the story, 3 stats of the upcoming week that we think might tell the story. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. Hope that you stick around. Thank you for being here. Let's get after it. Had the box scores here from this past week in San Francisco. We opened the season Wednesday night on Netflix. I don't know what I think about opening night, honestly. It's a little bit too much pomp and circumstance for me, just a little bit. Like, I like the overall, we're trying to grow the game, we're trying to bring more people in, Big Ten, all the things. It's just a little too much for me for an opening game. I think that we could have done with a little bit fewer theatrics, but ultimately Yankees end up 7-0. Judge goes over 5 with 4 strikeouts. We get a gem from Fried. You see here 6 1/3, 2 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. What more could you ask for opening day, opening night? Out of Max Fried, the bullpen starts their weekend of dominant play. Ultimately, I don't think that there's a ton to look at for opening night outside of, hey, let's be really happy about Fried. We're going to need that throughout the year in order for this team to be successful. If you're going to have a game where, somebody is going to struggle, you're fine with it being Judge because it's Judge. Who is actually, raise your hand if you're actually worried about Judge right now. Nobody raised their hand. It's fine. You look at the team right now, we're bringing back the same team. You see here, everybody, all 9 guys get a hit, or 8 out of the 9 besides Judge get a hit. Bottom of the lineup drove in all of the production from this. Ryan McMahon was able to drive in 2 runs on a softly hit ground ball. I still don't feel great about McMahon, but we're working on such small sample sizes right now that everybody's kind of getting the benefit of the doubt. But Game 1, 7-0. It's good to see the team get to Logan Webb. So a true number 1 ace level pitcher in the game today. Really good to see us get after him. We go to Game 2. 3-0, back-to-back shutouts. First time in Yankees history, 18th time in baseball history that's occurred. Back-to-back shutouts to start a season. And Schlittler is my player of the week. He is one of our interesting stats that we're going to get into. We're going to jump into some of his advanced numbers from the start. But facing Robbie Ray, lefty starter for the first time, we get all the righties into the lineup. You see Randall Grichuk, you see Ahmed Rosario, you see, who else we got? Caballero's already starting. Who am I missing here? Oh, Goldie at first. Yeah, we see Ben Rice come out of the lineup. So interesting that for this one, that for none of these games, Wells catches all 3 games. And it was kind of a big deal that Ascara made the team. Ben Rice caught 1 inning of spring training right at the end, a little bit of garbage time catching reps. And I'm really curious where's Ascara going to get his first start? Because Wells just caught 3 games in a row, off day, 3 games in a row, off day. So is Ascara going to start at any point this week, or is this another, Wells is going to get all 6 games this week? I'm not sure. I'm really curious about what the plan is for the catching platoon, because I would have thought that maybe you would have seen Ascara in this game here with Schlittler, but we didn't. And team comes through 3-0, 1 hitter. Bednar has been nails throughout the weekend. He's been nails throughout the WBC. Gets himself into a little bit of trouble with the walks. I mean, you see 1 here. We'll get to the Sunday game, or the Saturday game rather, from there. But Schlittler, an absolute gem. Only throws 68 pitches, 5 1/3, 8 Ks, 1 hit, no walks. I think that it is about as good of a 3-game stretch as you can get for the Yankees. So it's been such an incredible start to the season. I don't think that there's all that much to dive into on the negative side. We can wax poetically about how good Doval looked, 3 strikeouts. Doval feels like he is going to fill that 8th inning role for us to get the ball to Bednar. We don't know who the 7th inning guy is yet, but if we have a good 1-2 punch with Doval and Bednar, then that opens the door for a lot of other opportunities come September and October, whether that's Lagrange or whether that's even a Will Warren, or I think at this stage, We can assume Cam Schlittler is in the playoff rotation. I can't imagine a world where there are 4 starters ahead of him. Obviously, we're going to get Fried. We're going to have Rodon and Cole. Just based on money, those guys have to have those games. But Schlittler is the 4th guy right now. It wouldn't be Will Warren. So we'll see where the 7th inning role comes back around. If it ends up being Fernando Cruz, I think that could end up being great for us. But the Yankees could end up with a super bullpen. Let's say Cruz ends up having a very strong season, and then we're looking at a LeGrand 6th to Cruz 7th, Doval 8th, Bednar 9th. I think that the bullpen is kind of one of the underlying stories of this weekend. They've been awesome, even though we got 2 incredible starts out of Cam Schlittler and Max Fried. We come to game 3 on Saturday, a little bit tighter affair. Will Warren only gets through 4 1/3 on, I believe, where were we at? 80 pitches for young William Warren. 83. So I'm okay with that. I really like Will Warren as a strong 3-4 starter. He reminds me of, from a quality standpoint, kind of where Clark Schmidt was pre-injury last year, first half of the year, where you really felt good about, Clark Schmidt is your 3rd best starting pitcher. You feel very good about that rotation. I feel like Will Warren is reaching that point, he's starting to get to that role. 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Not the cleanest day for him, but ultimately he's a second-year player. He doesn't have incredibly elite stuff, but he does have really strong movement. So I think that we have to feel good about that. I've really liked, and I got to get the pronunciation guide out here, whether it's Hedrick or Hedrick. I think it's Hedrick. I like having a power lefty in the bullpen. 95-plus fastball. It's not something else that we have. It gives us another look besides Tim Hill if we get a lefty lane, looking at the latter half of the year, thinking about that already here in March. But the bullpen is just nails again. Jake Bird with 1 2/3, Tim Hill doing Tim Hill things, and then Bednar closing down another save for us. You come back through for the offense. Ben Rice crushes a fastball into right field, drives in a couple of runs. Bellinger had a sneaky good series. The entire series, you look at that OPS over 1. Real fun. Judge Dent's the ambulance. We all had some fun with that. It was awesome. It's been a great weekend in Yankees baseball. I don't think that we could ask for much more. I came into the season cautiously optimistic about this team. We all have seen the run it back narrative that comes up for this team. And what else did we really want them to do? Right? There wasn't a huge bat in free agency outside of Kyle Tucker, and Kyle Tucker can't play left field in Yankee Stadium. You're going to have to pay him. I mean, on an average annual basis, he makes, I believe, double what Bellinger makes. I think that's $60 million average annual for Tucker. Like, there wasn't a huge fish to go get, unless there was a Paul Skeens trade, unless there was a Scooble trade, something where you could double down on the pitching. And I don't really think that's the path forward for this team. Could it be? Because when you have a surplus, it's better to try to consolidate that into more effective anything. So if you're looking at a Ben Hess plus maybe one other plus prospect, I don't want to touch Jones or Lombard or Dominguez. I don't think I'd want to go LeGrand or Rodriguez, despite the fact that, we'll say Ben Hess and Elmer Rodriguez. If Ben Hess and Elmer Rodriguez, you can move them to turn them into half a season of Scooble, I think that there's an argument to do that. But ultimately, that price is going to be so much more exorbitant that I can't imagine that gets the deal done. I just think that this team, as it's currently constructed, can really improve off of last year's results. The defense is going to be strong. I think Caballero can bring something offensively. We'll see where it goes. I'm not all in on Caballero. I know what his career numbers are, and I also know what Volpe's are. But at the end of the day, Caballero does some little things that help the team more. He gets on base more than Volpe, and from a just pure value standpoint, him getting on base and his ability to steal bases is a huge feather in his hat. So great series to start the year for the New York Yankees. Let's talk about the weekend and a couple of fun stats. So we got 3 stats from this week that I think tell a little bit of a story of the first 3 games of the 2026 New York Yankees season. We got 1 fun stat. We got 1, it's probably nothing, but is what I'm calling it. Uh, it's hard to be anxious about anything after 3 games, but I think I might have found something that if you want to be a little bit anxious, I've got one for you. And then one really promising stat. So let's take a look here. We got a fun one. We look at the ABS stats to start the year. You see batters currently are 26 and 31 as of Sunday, 46% win rate. And then you see the catchers on defense. This is where you're seeing a lot of the really fun stuff, or a lot of the what I think is going to be the most valuable is catchers have a 61% challenge rate right now. I would expect that it's going to sit somewhere in that range for probably the rest of the year. I can't imagine that catchers with that view, with some of the elite framing catchers in baseball today, that's not going to be over 50%, and I think maybe well over 50%. But I think my guess this year was that it was going to be a 60-40 thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that get to 70. One of the fun portions of this is there are currently two catchers rather, with 3 challengers or more who are, we'll call it undefeated, 3-0 or better. It is Salvi and Austin Wells. Austin Wells with 3 challenges. You saw him flip two strikeouts for his pitchers. I think Austin Wells is going to be really good with the ABS. I think that the ABS has been awesome, but from what I've seen, the chatter, it's mostly Yankees fans, and we have been we have benefited from ABS thus far. But I've seen all across baseball, everybody pretty happy with the ABS system. I think it's been implemented really well. I can't speak to the science behind the StatCast zone and all that, but ultimately at the end of the day, being able to keep the human component of the umpires, keep the skill component of catchers being able to frame, keeping this human component of the game while not allowing these blatantly bad calls to overrun the game. It's 2 challenges per team, shoot till you miss. I just think that this has been such a great change for baseball. I have been a fan of pretty much all of the rule changes over the last 5 years. I don't hate the runner on second in extra innings. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but I understand that the juice is worth the squeeze. We don't want 16-inning games. Fans don't want it. Broadcasters don't want it. Players don't want it. Nobody really wants it. This was a good solution. ABS has been super fun. I think it's going to be a big advantage for the Yankees. The Yankees have this history of catching development with, I believe, Tanner Swanson is the catching coach for the Yankees. If I'm wrong about that, we'll get a correction in the description. But what the Yankees have done, you saw, Trevino came in and he was awesome prior to coming to New York, and then stepped up his game a little bit when he was with the Yankees. You saw Wells coming up was considered a bat-first catching prospect. He was a guy who, I remember some of the talk with Wells coming up through the minors was that he probably couldn't be a major league catcher, major league bat, but maybe not major league behind the plate. He might end up having to play the outfield or a couple other places, but now he's literally one of the best framers in baseball. So the Yankees develop catching talent very well. You look at Augustin Ramirez, Carlos Narvaez. They've been trading from this catching surplus that they've had, on top of the fact that now they have Escara, Wells, and to a certain extent Ben Rice. So I think that there's this inherent advantage that the Yankees will have for the ABS this year. I'm going to be really curious to keep following this one, but I think that this is going to be a huge benefit to Austin Wells' value on the team. I'm real curious to see where it goes, but that's where I lean in. I think the Yankees are going to benefit far more times than not with the ABS system. Our one concerning stat, our one potentially concerning stat, is Max Fried. And I don't know what I think of this. It's 3 games into the season, right? So I have pulled up here, if you're watching along on YouTube. If you're listening on the audio, then I will describe this. I have right here all of the hardest pitches sorted by pitch velo from opening day last year and opening day this year over on Baseball Savant. Max Fried through both games. And one of the first glaring things that stood out, and I noticed it while I was watching the game, and then when I looked it up, I felt kind of validated. His velo was lower than it was last year for most of the year. Most of the year, you would see Max Fried at some point in the majority of his starts gas one up to 97 or 98 because he sits at 94, 95 with the sinker, with the cutter action. He throws his 8 different pitches, the big loopy curveball, the nasty sweeper. He has so many tools in his toolkit that I feel like that 97, 98 kind of lulls you to sleep and then just comes right past you. And I went and I looked because it felt like the velo was down a little, and I'm not sure. I think I have a theory on this. We'll get to it. But something was a little bit different with Fried. So I go and I look, and his max velo last year 98.2. For this game, this 2026 opening day, it was 96.4. He only had 4 pitches, 96 flat or higher. Only, I believe, I had counted it up before, 15 pitches that were 95 or higher. And when you compare that to last year, the Brewers opening day, where his max velo was 98 and he had 20 or so pitches above 95, it's something I am just keeping an eye on. I don't think that this is a real concern. This is one of those where you think something might be wrong and you go, it's probably nothing, but then you pull up WebMD and just double check it, and then you read, and then you get yourself really scared, and then a week later, it just washes over you. You're like, oh yeah, it was just a thing. It was a phase. I'm good. We've all been there. I think that that's what this is for Max Fried. I think that they had a 5-run lead in the second inning. I think that he probably took a little bit off. Last year, opening day, he only threw, I believe it was 4 1/3 or 4 2/3. He didn't get through 5. And this year, he got through 6 1/3 and nearly got through 7. So I think that that's what we're talking about. I hope that that's what we're talking about. But for Max Fried, I was concerned enough to go look up his pitch velos and go double check to see. And yeah, he was throwing a little bit harder last year on opening day. Now that could have been, I believe, day game at Yankee Stadium versus evening game on the West Coast. Body clock is nearly midnight by the time that they're throwing first pitch. It could have been a number of things, but it's something that I'm going to look for with his second start in Seattle. And then I believe he lines up again to throw on, what would that be, Saturday or Sunday of next week against the Marlins. So it's something that I will be keeping an eye on. We will do an update next week where we'll look at his pitch velos again just to follow up on this. But like I said, it's probably nothing, but let's all be aware that the pitch velo is a little bit down on Max Fried. Third stat, Cam Schlittler. Cam Schlittler's incredible. I love Cam Schlittler. Like, he came up last year on July 9th, throwing the second hardest 4-seam fastball out of all starters, just behind a guy named Paul Skeens. Comes right in, just throwing 3 disgusting fastballs in a big loopy curve and a sweeper last year, and that was it. One of the best postseason starts in Yankees history. Can't be the best, absolutely impossible, but one of the best for Cam Schlittler. And I am so high on this kid this year that it is going to break my heart if he blows up. Cam Schlittler, just a dominant start. We had it here before. What was it? 6 1/3 or 5 1/3, 8 strikeouts. Because he's still ramping up. He had the lat strain or the lat discomfort during spring training that he didn't make his first. He only had 3 spring training starts, I want to say. So he's still coming along. If this were any other start, he would have gone 6, 7, 8 innings. Who knows? Probably racked up well over double-digit strikeouts. But for all of his dominance, his approach was a little bit different. I found that interesting. You come through and you look at, I got the game here, 3-0 Friday against the Giants. I am so thrown off with the season starting on a Wednesday, between 2 off days in the middle of the first series of the year and then immediately following. We need more off days in the middle of the season, and we need far fewer in the first month and a half. Manfred, go make it happen. Do the research. You look at where he's at from an approach standpoint here. If you look at, and again, we are looking at one start, right? We are looking at one start is all that we have. to go off of, so forgive me. You'll see this graphic this week on Instagram. Cam Schlittler, 2025 versus 2026 pitch usage. You look at 2025. So 2025 here, we have 60% to left-handed hitters with his four-seam fastball, 50% to right-handed. You look at the, I always throw these off. Yeah, FC is cutter. You look at his cutter, 23% to righties, 17% to lefties. The curveball was a big weapon for him versus lefties last year, 21%. And then just kind of mixing in the sinker, the sweeper, and the slider. And then we come down here to his 2026. And his 2026, which is one start, again, versus the Giants, but it's a very balanced lineup. So we do have a little bit of a sample size versus righty-lefty here. And you see, man, he's just chucking three fastballs at everyone, the four-seam, the cutter, and the sinker. Versus righties, 10% four-seam, 32% cutter. What is that, 45% sinker? He is hammering that sinker to righties. And versus lefties, it is all four-seam and cutter. He did not throw the breaking ball whatsoever in this game. It was crazy. He threw one slider the whole game to Matt Chapman. It was a foot outside and weak contact. It's interesting that he kind of strategically came into this a little bit different. I think that this is one of those, we cannot take any broad takeaways. You'll hear me say this probably until the middle or end of April, that there really cannot be any justifiable broad takeaway here in the first month of the season. But we're going to try our best. We're going to look for them. And I do think that there's something here, because that sinker to righties, you see, we come back to his stats from last year. Or rather, we can look at this game. You see pretty even distribution between the cutter, the four-seam, and the sinker. 32% cutter, 32% four-seam, 24% sinker. And we went through the splits righty-lefty. And when we get here, we look at his chase rate is what I found a little intriguing. 49% chase rate this year for Cam Schlittler. You look here, I believe. Yeah, with his one, we can do his whiff rate first. His whiff rate for four-seamer, 40% is insane. The cutter, 21%. The sinker, 25%. For this season, last year, he was in that same ballpark, but it was really that four-seamer to lefties and that sinker to righties, which is kind of new for him. We had I got the heat maps right here. We'll just use these. Cam Schlittler, the sinker versus right-handed hitters, 2025 versus 2026. And again, small sample size. You see here on the right, what you can see is the sinkers last year were significantly higher. Just they were more of in on the hands of right-handed hitters, up and in almost to the majority of them, with some that leaked back out over the plate, and a couple that snuck back in on the backside. But versus the Giants, it was a deep sinker low and into righties. It was a higher rate of whiff than he had had in previous years. If you look at, let's see, that zoomed in. We'll zoom this in a little bit more for the YouTube crowd. You look at where his pitches were to righties here. For righties, you can see he really was not utilizing this low and in position versus righties at all last year. And this year, it was his primary weapon against righties coming out of the gate. And we'll see if that is specific to the Giants or what that is going forward. But when you see a drastic difference like this, that, again, small sample size, we can move, but 3% of his pitches were low and in out of the zone to righties last year. That is, if you're only throwing 3% of your pitches there, that's a location that you are not targeting, that you're not really looking to attack with. And this year, just, 20% down there, trying to get more swing and miss. We come down to the swing percentage by zone. And you see, this low and in, he wasn't getting swings there last year versus right-handed hitters. Low and inside versus righties was not a place that Cam Schlittler, where he was able to get swing and miss. His swing and miss, at least versus righties, was up in the zone. And then we come down here to his strikeout rate's obviously good, but then you get to the whiff rate too, and it's the same concept of you look at him last year, and the whiffs were really outside of the zone and up in the zone. And at least for one start versus righties, it was all inside and off the plate, getting chase, and then on the outside versus righties. So if we come back here and we look at, we'll switch over to lefties, and you see kind of a similar distribution of pitches between first start 2026 and overall 2025. But you come down here and you see I thought that we had another heat map for his fastball. If not, we'll go ahead and we'll get it pulled. But if we look over here at some of these pitches, I teased it before because I had the order of segments incorrect on my list. You look at the total movement for his pitches, or induced movement. His sinker last year, vertical break 11.7, horizontal, or his sinker this year rather, 11.7 vertical break. Sinker last year, 12 inches of vertical break. Give or take the same. The horizontal break in 2025 was 12.5 inches arm side, jumps up to 14.5 inches. So that additional 2 inches on his sinker of horizontal break, you put that together with seeing the whiff rate on the low and in pitches, you see that he's able to locate the pitcher significantly better. I think that there's something there. I think that there's a little bit of developed, nuanced pitching strategy that you're seeing out of Cam Schlittler. These are the things that you want to see in 2026. You want to see him take that step forward, right? We already kind of saw a rookie pitcher really regress in Luis Gil. We'll see where he makes his first start, maybe this week, maybe next week, who knows? But as you kind of look through here, you'll notice that a lot of his pitches, his cutter, the horizontal break on his cutter is actually much smaller, and the vertical break is much more. So his cutter goes from 4.9 inches of vertical induced movement, 7.3 inches glove side, and then you come up to his cutter in 2026, 12.5 inches of vertical break, and 5 inches of glove side movement. So he has tightened up that cutter on top of the velo, jumping from average velo in 2025 on his cutter, 92, 2026, 95. He's made some arsenal changes. And if you look through the actual pitches, you're not necessarily going to see that. You're still going to see four-seam, cutter, sinker, slider, sweeper, curveball, even though didn't really need any breaking pitches this week. I would imagine that we're still going to see the sweeper and the curve. You saw it throughout spring. But these pitches are fundamentally different. Like they have a different movement profile to them. As you come through, you look at even down to the fastball. Like the fastball has a slightly different movement profile to it. Last year, 16.3 inches of vertical break. This year, 17.2. A little more arm side run, and it's these games of the game of inches, literally, that he is showing signs of development, and there isn't really a way to quantify what we want to see out of that. But I'm really big on, I want to see players fixing holes in their game. I want to see, when you're a guy who, people use this a lot with Judge, right? It's one of the reasons why I'll argue Judge is he's the best right-handed hitter of my lifetime. He's probably the best right-handed hitter ever. But every year you see Judge closing holes in his game. He struggled with changeups and splitters low, and now he's able to lay off those pitches. It was the slider low and away. It was at one point, I think there was a narrative that you could get in on his hands a lot. Like, it's just every year he continues to find ways to improve. It's incredible. And with these younger players, I'm not going to knock them for holes in their game as they're coming up, as they're a rookie, as they're in year 2, even year 3, but I want to see development. I want to see things improving, and I think Schlittler is showing that to us right now, and I'm really excited about it. Even I think it's a little bit easier to read here with the spin direction and the total movement. You can see like 2025 the sinker 17.3, 2026 the sinker 18.8, so an extra total inch and a half of movement. It's just you're seeing these changes in a young pitcher as he continues to show that he's going to continue to improve. You see that chase rate is crazy. 2025 a 28%, 28.2%, 2026 48.6%. So do I think that these numbers are going to hold perfectly? He's not going to have a 50% chase rate. Eventually guys are going to lay off, but that addition, it's the coalition of all of these different factors. This slightly increased movement, the changes to his movement profile, the increased velo on the cutter, the fact that he went from being a primarily fastball cutter guy to he barely threw his four seam to right-handed hitters. It was all sinker against him. So, and even that with the good sinker versus righties, that's going to help him keep the ball in the yard in a positive home run park factor like Yankee Stadium, where he has high velo. It's going to have higher exit velos if guys are able to barrel it. And now that sinker is going to help keep him off the barrel. Again, very small sample sizes, but if you're looking for something to be excited about with Cam Schlittler, I don't think that we could have asked for more out of this start, realistically. I'm very excited for Schlittler for the rest of the year. I'm looking forward to seeing him versus Seattle this upcoming week. And we'll get into what we can look for at this upcoming week in Pinstripes. I've got Baseball Savant here for, what do we got? This is the Seattle Mariners versus left-handed pitchers in 2025. This is the current Seattle lineup. Again, if you're audio only, these are the individual Seattle Mariners players that are currently on the roster, not just what the team did last year. Versus left-handed pitchers with a pitch velo 96 or greater. Ryan Weathers, who is starting Monday night, has an average fastball of 96.5. We come down here. And you look, it's not a ton. There aren't a lot of left-handed fireballers in baseball. That's one of the reasons why I really need the pronunciation guide on Hedrick versus Hedrick. I promise I'll be better on that. But you look, left-handed pitchers with a 96 mile an hour or greater pitch. You see not a ton of plate appearances last year, but the guys who have some volume, Randy Arozarena, Cal Raleigh, J-Rod, all ex-Wobas, 242 is the highest for Raleigh there. So a lot of struggles versus lefties who throw hard. And Rob Refsnyder has some of the best lefty splits in baseball. If you're a weird baseball data nerd and you've never looked at his career stats, go look at them. They're crazy. You come through, there's really not much else. I don't want to really look at plate appearances below 5, but for really everybody else with more than 5 plate appearances on this Mariners team, they struggle with hard-throwing lefties, or they did last year. We can open this up to, let's just open it up to career and see what happens. If we open it up to career numbers versus lefties, throwing 96 or greater, Dominic Canzone at his 2 or 3 plate appearances, just killing it. But let's look. So the guys who have some volume here, Refsnyder, even that, his ex-Wob is only 284 for his career, actually, versus hard-throwing lefties. He must just eat versus softer lefties. There's obviously more soft-throwing lefties, but even coming through here, there's really not as much. Cal Raleigh has a good career number here. Make sure that none of these other filters moved. Yeah, still lefties. So Cal Raleigh, okay career numbers versus lefties. You come through J-Rod 262. There's really nobody else here. Mitch Garver, I know that he has good career splits for overall career splits versus lefties, but there's really not as much that you're going to really worry about here. I mean, it's Garver if he starts, but I don't know. Do they have Mitch Garver? Is he DHing for them? Or is he simply backing up Cal? Because if not, you don't have to worry about Garver and Cal in the same lineup. You come through. Brendan Donovan is good lefty-lefty. Yeah, there's really not as much that I'm too worried about here. The career numbers aren't as exciting as the 2025 numbers, but ultimately, I mean, with some of these guys, they're top level pros. I mean, I'm surprised Randy's is this bad, to be honest. 226 ex Woba versus hard throwing lefties. So you look at that. We come through. The pitching matchups are going to be Ryan Weathers in game one versus Seattle, Max Fried in game two, and then Cam Schlittler in game three versus Seattle. The Yankees have already announced that. For the Miami series, they have not announced any pitchers yet, just lining it up. You would think Friday would probably be a Will Warren day. Saturday, they would be able to go with. They'd be able to go with a couple options. We're probably going to sneak Heel in there somewhere. I don't know if that's Saturday. I don't know if they would want to go with Weathers again on Saturday. I'm not sure. But ultimately, you're going to see those guys versus Seattle, Miami. I'm kind of looking more so at the Seattle series. Just the balanced schedule throws things off, but it's Miami, National League team. They're not going to factor into any tiebreakers for us at the end of the year the way that, in theory, Seattle could if we're competing for a wild card or whatever, wherever we end up. But just looking at it, I'm far more concerned with continuing to build up a strong AL record. This team has beaten up on poor competition for a few years now, and they need to beat the teams who you want to beat. These teams who are the other AL favorites, which Seattle is one of the other AL favorites besides the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Astros. I don't know what the gambling odds are now, but for the AL, it's we need to beat the Blue Jays, but we got a few weeks for that, so we'll hold off. But I'm more excited about the Seattle series. So I went ahead and I pulled the same thing here for versus right-handed pitchers, 2025 for Seattle. And we come through. So in 2025, right-handed pitchers who throw on pitches 98 or above, because Cam Schlittler's average four-seam and sinker is 98 plus. It's insane. You come through and you see not a ton of like super strong numbers. J-Rod hits high velo really well, 447 expected weighted on base average. You come through, you look at like Dominic Canzone on small samples is crazy. He is. I was looking at this research led me to start looking at his fan graphs, and I kind of want to see Dominic Canzone for a full healthy season. I think that could be fun. He on small rate stats has put up some crazy numbers the last couple of years. Even coming through here, though, like a Cal Raleigh X12 at 309, I'm really not that concerned with. It's this J-Rod 447 that you see here. Looking at some of these other guys with the crazy high numbers. Canzone Naylor has a 373. Yeah, not super concerned. I think that the Yankees have the matchup advantage in this series. For all three games, we have to worry a little bit about Weathers. He struggled throughout spring training, but there is length on this team to cover. If Ryan Weathers is struggling 2 or 3 innings in, they can go to Paul Blackburn, who we haven't seen yet. They can go to Yarby. They have options that they're going to be able to push that button as needed if they do need to go get length. So if you look here, for the Seattle Mariners versus lefties 96 or above, we're really only going to be worrying about Ref Snyder, I don't even know about Josh Naylor, Cal Raleigh, and maybe a Garver or Brendan Donovan, but not very concerned with this lineup. So if we see them really hitting Ryan Weathers around, I think that's a bad sign for Ryan Weathers. I think that's a hey, man, that's a little bit further than Fried, right? Fried is a, hey, man, that velo thing, it's probably nothing. But we looked it up just in case to be safe. With Ryan Weathers, it would be I'm a little sketched about this. After the spring that he had getting blown up a few times, if he comes into a team that with a number of players who really struggled versus hard-throwing lefties last year, I would hope that we can at least see like what Will Warren did on Saturday. Give me 4 1/3 and, keep it tight, and we'll be happy with that. For game 3 versus Cam Schlittler, they do have much stronger numbers versus hard-throwing righties last year, 98 or above. So they can certainly get to high velo. Let me see what their career numbers are here. I didn't really take a look at the the career numbers as much. I wanted to get the 2025s, but yeah, nothing too crazy for hard throwing righties career wise. You look at Luke Raley has a 407 xwOBA, Canzone again, small sample. J-Rod with a 342, Mitch Garver with a 370. So they've got options there. They're a good team. They're one of the best teams in the AL. But these numbers don't scare me. And if we come out of a West Coast trip to start the year 6-0, I don't see any other way that you can spin that other than the team is showing us exactly what we want to see at this point. Is, hey, you showed me that you can win a game when the top of the order doesn't hit and the bottom of the order does. You showed me that you can win a game when the bottom of the order just needs to do their job and Judge and Stanton can carry us. The pitching has been incredible. The bullpen's been incredible. It's been this just really great start to the season. And with the bullpen, that's what I wanted to close with. Bullpen, I did pull career numbers versus the Yankees bullpen for all of the hitters that we're going to be facing this week. Between Miami and Seattle, these are career numbers here. And for some of these guys, we're looking at most plate appearances. Again, these are reliever stats, so we're talking real small, but 31 plate appearances for Josh Naylor is kind of our top end here. He has a expected WOBA of 319, J-Rod expected WOBA of 335, Cal Raleigh 305. So no crazy numbers that stand out there on the Seattle side. As you kind of come a little bit lower, and the plate appearances will be smaller with the National League, but you see Xavier Edwards and Otto Lopez both have a lot of really good numbers versus the Yankees bullpen. For Edwards, a 377 xwOBA, Otto Lopez 498. For expected weighted on base percentage, that's the stat that I decided to pull for this. I generally prefer actual production stats rather than expected stats, but I wanted to get this kind of angle on it with the StatCast data. So if you're unfamiliar, WOBA is weighted on base or weighted on base average. It's the on base percentage, except it's weighted, so doubles are worth more than singles, triples are worth more than doubles, home runs are worth more than everything. It's one of the best ways to very quickly illustrate offensive performance. Expected WOBA is what you would expect to see based on the quality of contact. So it's measuring quality of contact. So when you look at like Otto Lopez with a 498 xwOBA, that means that his contact has been very solid. He's been barreling up the ball. He's been doing damage, or you would assume that he's doing damage. You don't really know what the result is because, in theory, he could have smoked a 110 mile an hour line drive into the gap that PCA ran down. And that ball gets down for a double or a triple like 70% of the time, but they happen to be playing the Cubs that day. That's what xwOBA is trying to do here. So Otto Lopez and Xavier Edwards are going to be the tough ones in the Miami lineup. Other than that, there's really not much else in the Miami lineup for us to worry about. With how good the bullpen has been, I think that this is just, check another box for advantage Yankees for this week. Cal Raleigh has really struggled between the WBC and the start of the year. I think that we would rather catch him when he's cold than when he's at least, slugging. Because his batting average is not particularly strong. He did not deserve MVP last year. I'm sorry if there's Yankees haters that somehow tripped their way into here and ended up staying for, what are we at, 45 minutes? Ooh, 45 minutes, that's nearly perfect. Yeah, Cal Raleigh didn't deserve MVP. He deserved to be second. I love catchers. Catcher's my favorite position. Posada was my hero growing up. I caught for nearly every year that I played baseball, but Cal Raleigh, just because you're a catcher and you hit 60 home runs does not deem you better than a dude who had a significantly better season than you. From a hitting standpoint, is an incredible defensive outfielder. So shout out to Cal Raleigh, though. He's awesome. I wish that we got to see more of him in the WBC. But that has been This Week in Pinstripes. That was last week in Pinstripes. That was this upcoming week in Pinstripes. You'll see some of this data, some of these graphics throughout the week. If you go ahead and you follow us over on Instagram at This Week in Pinstripes, check out the website. You'll see some more details on this data and more over there, with the weekly Monday morning article, as well as anything else that I find interesting throughout the week that I want to post over there in long form. If you did enjoy this here on YouTube, please go ahead and hit subscribe. We are looking to build this channel throughout the rest of the season. Really excited. I will be here every Monday morning with This Week in Pinstripes here on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and subscribe. Please leave a review. That stuff really helps with new channels. I know you guys hear it all the time, but that stuff is a huge favor. So I deeply appreciate it. I deeply appreciate you being here, whether you do any of that other stuff at all. I love sitting here and being able to talk Yankees with people. So I'm really excited for this season to be full blown into the data, bringing stuff to you guys that hopefully we all find interesting, give us greater insights into the team, and hopefully a lot of wins. That's what we're all rooting for. So thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.